being funny is really supposed to look like, which is very different from what we saw Friday night from Donald Trump. But I have to wonder. You started out on like these premier satire programs, and now all of life isn't really that funny because Donald Trump is president again. So, how do you cope through all of this?
Oh, I mean, I think similarly to other people, frankly, I gratitude journal. I
Mm.
personally gratitude journal every day, and it keeps me because I do a news segment on my show every day. I do a daily show, and I cover the news every day, and so I have to know what is happening. But I think that the news is an aberration. I always tell people if you're hearing about it in the news, it's because it's abnormal. The vast majority of people came home safely, kiss their kids goodnight. The vast majority of people are not being shot, even on a day where there's a horrific shooting. The vast majority of people are loving and not hating. So I remind myself of these kind of like spiritual platitudes to get through it. But I also think it's not only that Donald Trump isn't funny, but a lot of people that I despise are funny, including political leaders. George W. Bush was funny. John McCain was funny. Mitt Romney had a decent sense of humor if he wanted to. There's This guy is an aberration in terms of comedy because he refuses to play by any of the rules that powerful people should play by, which is to look inward, to make fun of yourself. People like Elon Musk, Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump have been psychoanalyzed to the hilt by all the experts. But from a point of view of comedy and humor, we all realize that if you're in a point of power, if you're a person in power, you have to be self-deprecating. You have to poke fun at yourself at least a little bit. It humanizes you. It's a relief in the room that you do it, and you look way more confident every time. It's every politician, every performer, anybody who gives a speech understands this. Conservative, liberals, we don't have there's always this argument about liberals or conservatives or who's funny or whatever. Nobody has it's preposterous. You understand the rules of humor or you don't. Your dad does, your uncle does, your friends do, or they don't. And Donald Trump doesn't, and he doesn't care about the rules on life. And that's why he's such an unlikable failure at almost everything he does, but selling people things that they're never going to actually be able to use or benefit from. That he's good at, which is the most pernicious, insidious quality of it all, is that he is a snake oil salesman, a con artist of the highest level. And even they can make fun of themselves. Even mafia dons can make a little fun of themselves, Susan. So that's how I get through it, and that's how I look at these Republicans today. It's unprecedented in humor.
Yeah, I mean, he ran as an outsider, he ran as a celebrity, and I think that he was able to find a lane that traditional politicians who, traditionally try and say things that people agree with and propose policies that they like. And Donald Trump said, no, you just want to watch me and see what I say next. I'm going to be the car crash that you can't take your eyes off of
Yep.
because he really achieved superstardom through reality TV, and that was his model. And I actually wrote about this not too long ago that it's that kind of toxic narcissism that he's brought to the White House, and he's brought a bunch of his friends with him who come from that world. And so of course he wouldn't be funny at this dinner because all he's doing is being the guy on the reality show that you can't take your eyes off of, and usually you hate that guy.
Very well said, and everybody should read that piece I did before I interviewed you. And always smart, Susan. But the thing that irks me as a comedian, and always has, is when someone goes on social media or just in conversation says, "Well, I don't think that comedian is funny." You are entitled to your opinion. There's a lot of comedians I don't like and don't think that are funny, but yesterday he went on a rampage on social media and he said Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert are not funny comedians. You might not like them, but they fill up arenas of people laughing at them. They host network shows because they're the funniest to a critical mass of people. So we're all entitled to our opinion, but you look like a fool when you simply say that person's not funny. You should be better said, I don't really find him funny. I don't get why other people find him funny, but you know what? The guy sells a lot of tickets, makes a lot of people laugh. I think he's mean. I think he's racist. I think he's sexist. Whatever. That's all kinds of comedians. But to say that someone's not funny, who is a leading comedian and has a household name, it's four fingers pointing back at you every time, and it also means you're the least funny person. And there's no one that's less funny, Susan, than someone that comes and tells you that they're funny. The answer to them has always been, as a comedian, we always have this, somebody comes up and says, oh, I'm funny too. And I always say to them, I'm like, funny people don't tell you.
Right, right. If you have to brag about it,
Yeah.
then you probably
Yeah.
aren't. And
Show don't tell.
you know, I really can't remember too many times I've ever seen Trump laugh. That's just not
Right.
like a muscle that he works. And I'm always very suspect if you don't have a sense of humor, if dogs don't like you, those are usually tells for me.
That's a really good point about dogs and other animals as well.
Mhm.
But I mean, do you know any person in your life that you know decently well that you've not seen laugh? You don't. You don't. It is a very strange thing. But it's also, I think there is a correlation with a lack of confidence and a lack of security, with the lack of the ability to laugh at any number of things, because you're just constantly worried about what people are going to think of you for anything. But just also, there's just a lack of humor. And I don't think that the guy doesn't have a sense of humor or doesn't laugh at other people, Donald Trump. I think he finds things funny. But I do think, and I'll psychoanalyze myself, most of his time is spent simply just in a rage of vengeful fit. Who can I hurt? What can I take? Because he's, best viewed as like a very small little boy.